There is one conversation that can feel so incredibly awkward, but that you have to have before you go on maternity leave. We're gonna break that down into today's video. I want you to make sure to stick around to the end because we're gonna kind of talk through the most awkward part at the end. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kelly Stevens. As you're watching this video, I am in the first few weeks of returning from my maternity leave with my second son. I've got 2 little boys. They're wild, let me tell you. But the one conversation that I've had to have every single time I've taken a maternity leave is with my old clients and with the therapist who have chosen to cover my practice. And that conversation is about whether or not clients will be returning to my practice. Even as I say this, trying to explain it can feel a little bit cringy. So I'm just gonna go with like the most basic way of explaining this. But when you go on maternity leave, your clients have a few options, right? Either they have decided to wait and not see anyone until you come back, or they've decided to see another therapist until you come back, or they've decided to switch therapists altogether. Oftentimes, you will have that conversation with your clients before you ever go out on leave. When you come back from being on maternity leave, all of a sudden you need to navigate the back end of that conversation, and it can be a little bit tricky. So I want to break down exactly how I do it. So before I've gone out on both of my maternity leaves, I have sat down with my clients and let them know, hey, I'm going to be going out on maternity leave. I want you to know my number one priority is that you are in good hands while I'm gone. And you basically have 3 options. And I go through those options that I just shared with you. They can either wait, I can find them to see somebody while I'm gone, or I can refer them out completely. At that time, before I ever go on leave, I let them know whatever option you choose will not hurt my feelings. This is about you and not about me, and I want to make sure that you're in good hands. I would say when I went out on my first maternity leave, about 80% of my clients said, no, I'm just gonna take a little bit of a break while you're out and then come back when you're back. Another 10% said, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Let me know when you're back, figure it out. That was fine. The last remaining 10% said, you know what, Kelly, I really need to see somebody while you're out. Help me find someone. And I did. Now, finding that person can be a little bit tricky. And what I recommend doing is finding a few other therapists, preferably other therapists who have kids or who've taken a parental leave before or a leave of absence, and say, would you be willing to cover my caseload? Meaning, could I refer clients to you? They would be in essentially their practice for a few months. They'd have to sign the intake paperwork of that therapist and all that. And then when they come back, they would come back to me. Now, when I find that therapist, and it really helps if they're a parent, as I said, I like to have a very honest conversation with them. And I say, my number one priority really is that the clients are in the best hands possible and that we follow what their clinical needs are. And I state the awkward, cringy thing, which is, I know it can be really hard when you're holding space for a client and maybe they get used to seeing you after I've been out for a few months and they tell you, you know what, I want to stay with you. I don't want to go back to seeing Kelly. You have to hold on to that and then tell me that. I want you to know, and I'm telling you this before I ever go out on maternity leave, that I welcome that conversation. I want you to feel like you can tell me that if a client says it to you. And we're gonna work together to figure that out. And then I say to both the client and the therapist on call separately, I let them know, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out to the clients about 4 weeks before I'm coming back. I'm gonna send out an email that says something really simple like, hi everyone, I'm gonna be back in the office starting on this date. I'm booking appointments. If you'd like to schedule one, let me know. Something very kind of non-emotional and just really clear. Then I let the on-call therapist know, hey, it's your job to discuss this with the client, empower them to share with me where they're at so they feel supported all the way. I personally think that this conversation is really hard to have, right? Because especially when you've just had a baby, your expenses are high, you're worried about your business, you might be feeling some loss, you might be feeling a little bit emotional, you might be worried about where money is coming from. And so to have this conversation with your clients and with a therapist on call can feel really scary. I want to empower you right now by saying one thing. I have had over 2,500 therapists at this point go through all of my different courses and programs. I've taught in 2 master's programs, and I have a huge network of therapists. I have seen so many parents, and in particular moms, go through maternity leave, parental leave, and be so worried about their practices and feel like, oh my gosh, I've spent the last 4 or 5 years building this practice and I don't know if I'm going to get clients back. In all of the years that I've helped therapists do this, I have not seen a single therapist go bankrupt, shut their private practice, not be able to afford it, because something interesting happens when you become a parent where you realize, you know what, I have this baby here and I am going to do whatever it takes to take care of them. And even in my own life, is that motherhood made me really brave. So even if I lost clients, or even if clients didn't come back to me after maternity leave, I had the bravery to go out and market myself. And I've seen that time and time again with the therapists I've worked with, that when that baby comes, when you're out and you're feeling good, all of a sudden you have the courage to say, you know what, I'm gonna go out and promote myself. I'm really confident that will happen with you too. As I said, I'm a new mom. I gotta have some coffee to finish this video first. I want to leave you with a piece of advice that I never thought of before I had my first baby, and this is it. One thing that nobody told me, which I really took to heart my second pregnancy, is that when you have a baby, you don't know what the health of the baby is going to be. I have seen so many therapists and friends go through miscarriages, go through having a baby who was in the ICU, all sorts of things, right? Sometimes people go into maternity leave with one plan and something totally different happens. Sometimes they think they're going to take a year off and they're missing work and coming back in about 4 to 6 weeks, right? When you prepare to go on maternity leave, you want to have in place the steps that you need to take, and below I have a guide for all the steps you need to take, but you also want to have some flexibility and some grace with yourself. You don't get the time back to be with your newborn baby. In many ways, I have a 4-year-old now, and in my mind, he was just a newborn yesterday and I was on my first maternity leave, and I wish someone had told me it's gonna be okay. Your business is gonna be okay, you're gonna be okay, and in fact, you're gonna thrive. So good luck, you got this, and I'll see you in the next video.